Farmer leaves legacy gift to the Minnesota FFA Foundation. Ask anyone from the Denison area, and they will tell you all Jim Tracy wanted to do in life was plow, plant, and harvest. James Tracy, known as Jim to his family and friends, was a farmer down to his very core and enjoyed getting out in the fields. Jim owned a couple hundred acres of farmland on two different plots in southeastern Minnesota. Unfortunately, his failing health didn't allow him to continue his passion for playing in the dirt for as long as he had intended. He died on April 19, 2014, after suffering a stroke and battling illness for many years. But for the better part of 6 decades when he was farming, friends and family would say he was almost giddy with excitement when driving the tractor, milking the cows, or tending to the herd of cattle. Jim was known as kind-hearted, not only offering a smile to anyone who crossed his path, but also by donating money to his church and charities such as the Area Food Shelf, 4-H, Children's Hospitals, the Wounded Warriors Project, and the Marine Scholarship Fund, to name a few. Most of those contributions were anonymous, because Jim wasn't looking for a pat on the back. But the biggest benefactor of Jim's kindness is and will be for many years to come the young farmers he admired most, the future farmers of America. Not only has Jim donated his time and money to both the Randolph chapter and the state organization, but before his death, he bequeathed his land to the FFA so young farmers will be able to carry on the traditions of farming in rural America. Ed Terry, agriculture instructor and FFA advisor at Randolph High School, shared, "I've known Jim for 59 years, and he truly was a generous man. He wanted to see agriculture in rural America remain strong. When I think back on Jim, his gift wasn't a big surprise. But it was a shock. It was a generous gesture. The farm was Jim's life, and FFA and 4-H were important to him. He loved helping young people." To appreciate Jim Tracy's legacy of giving and teaching, you need to glimpse his life journey. Jim was born on December 9, 1941, just 2 days after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, a fact he would tell people until the day he died. Jim graduated from Northfield High School in 1959 and was active in the FFA and 4-H while growing up. After graduation, Jim served 2 years in the U.S. Marine Corps. Besides being a lifelong member of his church, he was also an active member in the Lions Club. And in 2013, he was honored by the folks in his hometown serving as the Parade Grand Marshal. When Jim began to experience health issues 8 years ago, he asked Bill Bloss if he could come out and help him with the farm. "I started to work for Jim," Bill said. "I came out here and started living and running the farm." Jim had made up his mind he would farm until he was 82. My job was to keep him farming until then. Unfortunately, he died when he was 72 years old, but in the process, we became best of friends. Kathy Jacobson, one of Jim's 9 first cousins, said that aside from being in the Marines for a couple of years in the 1960s, Jim rarely left the farm. Kathy believes his generosity toward the FFA stemmed from his love of the organization while growing up. He had good memories of FFA and 4-H, she said. "When you don't have close family, why not give the land to the FFA? They will benefit from it and be better farmers because of it." The Minnesota FFA Foundation graciously acknowledges this generous gift from James Tracy. "Jim lived the characteristics that FFA works to instill in its members," states Scott Hislop, chairman of the Minnesota FFA Foundation. "Having learned about Jim as a person and a farmer, we feel he exemplifies the last paragraph of the FFA Creed, which states, 'I believe that American agriculture can and will hold true to the best traditions of our national life, and that I can exert an influence in my home and community which will stand solid for my part in that inspiring task.' Generations of FFA members will benefit from this donation, as the funds will be used to support members through agricultural scholarships. Thank you, Jim Tracy."